Yeah, make all the demons quiet. Yeah, we were built to thrive. Yeah, I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night? Yeah, make all the demons quiet. Yeah, we were built to thrive. Yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Yeah, make all the demons quiet. Yeah, we were built to thrive. Yeah, I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night? Yeah, make all the demons quiet. Yeah, we were built to thrive. Yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough.
Hello and welcome to Not Your Normal Sunday. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, formerly known as the Christian Whistleblower, now bringing you the real gospel truth. And that breaks down to the fact that the word gospel predates Christianity by at least 1,000 years. And the word means, in its original context, an announcement of the victory, the glory, and the righteousness of heathenism. And isn't it interesting that the Christians chose to steal our word, corrupt our word, co-opt our word, to refer to the man-made message of their fake, psyop, faux banner character called Jesus, when there wasn't even a J until the 17th century. Today, we're talking about the great American conspiracy. We're going to talk today about one of the greatest, deepest conspiracies that I've ever seen. And I'm asking you, how deep are you willing to go? You, not your friend, not your neighbor, not your mama, not your papa, not your sister, not your brother, not your Uncle George who lives in a van down by the river. You. How deep are you willing to go? If you're watching this, you would call it a show. I call it a deprogram. If you're watching this, you're not normal. And you're in the right place because this isn't your normal Sunday. You're not normal. You're abnormal. And if people find out that you watch me, they're going to think you're crazy. So you might as well get all in or get all out. And I have a question to ask you. If you're watching me, then you're part of the conspiratorium. You're a person that prides themselves in thinking for themselves, reasoning for themselves, researching for myself. If I were to poll all of you today, this afternoon, if I were to poll all of you and I were to ask you, do you pride yourself in thinking for yourself. Do you think for yourself? You would say 100% of you, yes. And yet, probably the majority of people that call themselves truthers are Christians. And as Christians, the Bible tells you not to think for yourself. The Bible tells you to take every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. And I'm asking you today, it's no longer I that live, but Christ that lives within me. I don't lean to my own understanding. I don't have my mind. I have the mind of Christ. And I'm asking you today, is that okay with you? Are you okay with living that blatant contradiction that says, I think for myself, but I won't think for myself when it comes to the most important thing that you have to consider? Because I've got news for you. Most of you are living in fear. And isn't the fear, doesn't mean reverence, it means terror. The fear of the Lord's the beginning of wisdom. Isn't that where most of you are? But you're afraid of the pain. You're afraid of the pain of your past. Some of you have come out of this and that and the other thing, and you credit the Jesus character for doing it. It wasn't Jesus, it was you. Some of you are afraid of the pain of taking personal responsibility. And then some of you are afraid of the pain of this place called hell that they made up. And I'm asking you to consider, are you content to call yourself a truther, but live a life of fear of pain in the present? What if I can't do it myself? What if I can't stay sober by myself? What if I can't stay off of midget porn by myself? What if I can't do it by myself? What if hell is real? Are you content to live that life? Terrified of the pain of this world, terrified of the pain of the next world, when this physical existence that we're living, my middle finger is so sore I can't even snap my fingers. It's like that. Are you content to live a life of gross hypocrisy? Is that okay with you? Only you can answer. And the reason I ask that today is because this deprogram we're going to do today is one of the deepest I've ever done. The great American conspiracy goes to the very heart of divinity and sovereignty and freedom. Today is a day where you're going to have to decide who you are. You're going to have to decide if you're really a truther or if you're not, because there's no such thing as being mostly a truther. It's like you can't be mostly pregnant, you can't be partly pregnant. You're either pregnant or you're not. Same thing with what we're dealing with. Are you a truther or are you not a truther? It's up to you. And only you will know. And today will be the day that you will know, beyond a shadow of a doubt. Hello to Kylie Dugan. Kylie's been here a long, long time. I love you, Kylie. I appreciate you. JT, Rin Star, Renee Weatherford, Nina the Mystic, all of these names from... Do you realize that we've been gone off of YouTube for 5 years? And over 5 years, over 50,000 people stayed subscribed to a channel that didn't exist anymore. Imagine that. Do you think that's because we talk about things that don't matter? Do you think that's because we talk about things that are stupid? Do you think that's because we talk about things that don't have deep, eternal import? For 5 years, over 50,000 people stayed put. And I salute you. I appreciate you. I love you. And you're finding your way back. Renee Weatherford, Nina the Mystic, Colleen Shermer, and Colleen gave me the seed for this one too. Chris Stool, Just Frank, Jay Bing, Matthew Garvin. Oh, boy. Scotty Boy is back. Jessica May is back. Pedro over in France. So glad to have you all. But today is a day that is going to separate the truthers from those who are something else. Let's get into this. RealGospelTruth.org. You can get your nanosoma, which gets everything out of you that is not supposed to be in you, literally. You can get your focused life force energy, which brings a high consciousness environment to your phone, to your home. You can also get on our mailing list so we can contact you when special things happen and something big is coming up. Nina found me on the Sunday show that we used to do with Wayne. You can donate through Cash App, PayPal, or just through regular credit card. RealGospelTruth.org. We're also at Who Thinks For You on X, on Twitter. All right, here we go. Buckle in, buckle up. This is going to be a big one. Were Adam Weishaupt and George Washington the same guy? Was Adam Weishaupt George Washington? And has perhaps the most important story of the founding of America been intentionally hidden from us and twisted into a convoluted Judeo-Christian kosher disclosure, inversion, and projection? I think it's highly likely. Do we really know the America that we think we know? Was the founders' dream of a nation built on liberty, freedom, and sovereignty hijacked from almost the very beginning? And was the great concept of a deist republic stolen from us, but not without an epic struggle that has somehow been kept secret from us all, though it's literally right under our noses? It has been years, Scotty boy. So glad to see you. What if the founder of the Illuminati didn't die in exile in Germany, like the official story claims? And what if, gulp, are you ready for this? What if the Illuminati was originally a great awakening? What if the Illuminati wasn't so naughty? How deep are you willing to go? Are you willing to think for yourself? I should ask you, how far are you willing to think for yourself? At what point do you stop saying, ooh, that doesn't make sense, and start saying, but everybody knows? How much do you trust you? That's the question that should preoccupy your soul. What if Adam Weishaupt disappeared, and he did disappear, but what if he disappeared only to resurface a few years later in the American colonies? An American military genius, fluent in Enlightenment ideology, going under the name of George Washington. Jeff, that's outlandish. Really? Is it more outlandish than a man who we know is George Washington, who had zero formal education, who somehow instantly overnight became a master strategist, a master symbolist, and the architect of an empire that still stands today? It might be time to rethink this. It might be time to rethink it all. What about that face on the $1 bill? You might want to look again. Many people say that ain't George Washington. It's a composite. It's a mask. Could they have known what we know now? The mask, the doubles, the doppelgangers, the replacements? It's a tribute to the real founder of the idea upon which the real American Republic was built upon, hiding in plain sight. And I'm not the only one that's crazy enough to ask. I don't know who Bryan Singer Pool Party is, but he asked the question, is the face on the $1 bill, is it George Washington or is it Adam Weishaupt? Sorry, the face belongs to Adam Weishaupt, says Bryan Singer. And I don't know who Bryan Singer is. I don't know. Some of you don't know who the hell I am. But this guy's a legit guy. His name is Dick Allgaier. Dick Allgaier is part of the, what's it called, Cynthia? It's called the Future Forecasting Group. It's a group of, the word's escaping me. It's a group of remote viewers that Cynthia loves. They have amazing accuracy. And Dick Allgaier wrote this on his website. Exposed. George Washington was actually Adam Weishaupt, the founder of the Illuminati. George Washington equals Adam Weishaupt, Illuminati founder. The $1 bill bears his image and his pyramid eye symbol. Their banking system is built on the Fed, but it's ending. Neobanks, crypto regulation, blah, blah, blah. The most used currency in history bears the image of Adam Weishaupt, says Dick Allgaier, founder of the Illuminati, who moved to America and changed his name into George Washington. I don't believe everything that Mr. Allgaier says. Scotty Boy's reporting that Dick Allgaier was the weather sports guy in Hawaii. Yes, he was, and he's still there. But even Dick Allgaier's figured this out. Remote viewer, founder of the Future Forecasters. As we've heard, TV journalist, 26 years of experience. He's a certified remote viewing instructor. He's given lectures in international scientific symposia. So the first thing we have to ask is, who was Adam Weishaupt? Because it all starts there. Adam Weishaupt was a German philosopher. We know the deep, deep, deep heathenry, self-reliance, divinity, sovereignty, freedom that runs within the German people. So Weishaupt was German. He was a philosopher. He was a law professor. And he was the founder of the notorious, but I ask you to consider, was it really? Bavarian Illuminati. When Adam was just 5 years old, his father died. And it left him under the tutelage of his godfather, Johann Adam von Ickstadt. This is crucial to the understanding. Ickstadt was a proponent of the philosophy of Christian Wolff and of the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment. Some of you don't even know what that means, but you will after today. He influenced the young Weishaupt with his rationalism. What is rationalism? Thinking for yourself, not taking the words of somebody else's book. I turned to my Bible that I carried for 25 years on 5 continents. Not trusting your thinking to a clergy that's been proven by their own admission. Whether you're talking Roman Catholic, Roman Protestant, Orthodox, at least 20% that they've admitted are guilty of pedophilia. 20% they admit. It's probably closer to 50. Wolff is characterized as one of the most eminent German philosophers. His life work spanned every scholarly subject. He displayed and unfolded according to his demonstrative deduction. That means facts, 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 add them up, boom. Not facts, 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 a story that I can't confirm that somebody else tells me that everybody believes, but facts plus facts plus facts equal reality. And this is the peak, and this is what Enlightenment rationality is based upon. How deep are you willing to go? Are you really willing to be a truther? Weishaupt began his formal education at age 7 at a Jesuit school, which looms large in this investigation. In 1772, he became a professor of law after he converted to Protestantism. Can you imagine a person being a Jesuit and then converting to Protestantism? One thing we know about Weishaupt is he was a thinker. Hello, Robert V. He was a thinker. Hello, Arthur King. He was a thinker. Are you a thinker, or do you just call yourself a thinker? We all laugh and make fun of these people that are born boys and identify as girls. We all giggle at these people that identify as cats and furries, but yet some of you, what if I said that some of you are just as silly identifying as truthers when you connect your brain to the group mind think when it comes to spirituality? What was the age of enlightenment that I'm talking about? What was the age of reason? The Age of Enlightenment, also known as the Age of Reason, was a period in the history of Europe and Western civilization during which an intellectual thinking for ourselves cultural movement flourished. It emerged in the late 17th centuries in Western Europe, and it reached its peak in the 18th century, and its ideas spread more widely across Europe and into the European colonies, into the Americas. Characterized by an emphasis on reason and empirical evidence, the Enlightenment promoted the ideas of individual liberty and religious tolerance. Its thinkers advocated for constitutional government, the separation of church and state, and the application of rational thinking principles to guide social and political reform. It sounds so very evil, doesn't it? That was my first, what? Moment. The Enlightenment. Thinking, evidence, liberty, religious tolerance, no state church. The application of working through the evidence, opposed to what the Christian nationalists, Christian identityists want to bring us today. The movement was characterized by the widespread circulation of ideas through new institutions, scientific academies, literary salons, coffee houses, Masonic lodges, and an expanding print culture of books, journals, and pamphlets. The ideas of the Enlightenment undermined the authority of the English monarchy and religious officials, and it paved the way for the political revolutions of the 18th and 19th centuries, including the American Revolution. Do you realize if people hadn't started questioning the church, we never would have had the American Revolution? Do you realize that if people hadn't started questioning the government, we never would have had the American Revolution? And yet today, they tell us the way out of this terrible place we find ourselves in is to stop questioning Christianity. Stop questioning the government. I ask you today, if you're going to call yourself a truther, can you believe those things and still call yourself a truther? The Enlightenment was marked by an increasing awareness of the relationship between our minds and everyday living, and in contrast to what the media tells us every day. And it was also based on reductionism, which means fact plus fact plus fact equals fact, not fairy tale. And it was characterized by the increased questioning of religious dogma. The very thing that started the American Revolution, they're trying to tell us today, the very way to a new American Revolution is to forget what caused the first real American Revolution. Tribal? Does that make sense? You know what their motto was? Sapere aude, dare to know. I ask you today, do you dare to know? And how deep do you dare to go? It's up to you. The central doctrines of the Enlightenment were individual liberty, representative government, the rule of law, and religious freedom, in contrast to an absolute monarchy, strong central government, a single-party state, and the religious persecution of faiths other than those formally established and often controlled outright by the state. Hello, Joyce. But they're telling us today the way out of the mess that America's become is to surrender to and to endorse the persecution of every faith other than one. And that one faith they want to establish the nation upon. The Enlightenment was characterized by fervent arguments in favor of anti-Christianity and for deism, accompanied by demands for secular states, bans on mandated religious education. Oh, we want more religious education today. That's because we've lost our damn minds. It was about the suppression of monasteries, the suppression of the Jesuits, and the expulsion of religious orders. And the Enlightenment faced contemporary criticism, which was later called the Counter-Enlightenment, which defended traditional religious and political authorities against rationalist critique. The people that were against the American Revolution are the same people today that are trying to convince you that the answer to the problem they caused is to double down and do it again. Again. Aesthetics says, if Abraham thought it was good and right to sacrifice his own son, why should the works of him and his people be taken seriously? Can I ask you another question? If the God of the Bible thought it was right to sacrifice his own son, why should his words and works be taken seriously? How deep are you willing to go? How deep are you willing to go? Are you surprised yet? I was. The Counter-Enlightenment, well, that refers to a loose collection of intellectual stances that arose during the Enlightenment in opposition to its attitudes and ideals. Robert V., nice to see you. Who could be against reason? Christians, Christian nationalists, Christian identityists, Roman Catholics, Roman Protestants, Ortho boys. They're against reason and empirical evidence. I know it went right over some of your heads, but you should check out the deep program called Cowardice, Presuppositional Epistemology. They actually say, and they believe today, that our problem is we think for ourselves too much, and we need to just trust what the church says. They were against individual liberty. They were against religious tolerance. They were against the separation of church and state. These counter-enlightenists are the same people today. They're the Christian nationalists, the Christian identityists. People like E651 Alpha, God was testing Abraham. He didn't want him to kill his son. God stopped the sacrifice. Well, God didn't do it, an angel did. Do you really want to trust a God that has to get you to agree to kill your own son? Son, really? That's the God you want to trust? Now, is that rational thinking or is that buying into the fairy tale? I'll let you decide. These people actually challenged the belief in the rationality of all humans. They actually challenged the non-religization of European and Western society, which they deemed secularization. They resisted it then, and they're resisting it now. And they're calling you heathens, pagans, because you won't agree with them. The Enlightenment dared to promote the separation of church and state. The views on religious tolerance and the importance of individual conscience became particularly influential in the American colonies in the drafting of the United States Constitution. The people that the Christian nationalists, the Christian identities who say they love the Constitution so much, they will have to destroy it in order to start a Christian theonomy. You can't have a Christian nation in a nation that has a constitution that expressly forbids the establishment of religion. How can you miss that? How can you miss that? In a letter to the Danbury Baptist Association in Connecticut, Thomas Jefferson, who wrote a little thing called the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson called for a wall of separation between church and state at the federal level. He previously supported successful efforts to disestablish the Church of England in Virginia, and he authored the Virginia Statute for Religious Freedom. But Charlie Kirk, MAGA, and the Christian nationalist and the Christian identityist would have been squarely in the camp of the counter-enlightenment, and they are today. We have to realize that today's Judeo-Christian fear and guilt, blood magic, mind control matrix is against enlightenment. They're against you thinking for yourself. They're against any other idea about God than their own. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with that? We're going to come back to this later. This is a little 5-minute video, Charlie Kirk, America is a Christian Nation, and it just shows so beautifully exactly everything that I'm saying. But I realized as I sat down that it's in the wrong spot, so we're going to go past it and come back. Enlightenment scholars sought to curtail the political power of organized religion. Because they hated God? No. Thank you, Yopkiln. They sought to curtail the political power of organized religion because they wanted to prevent intolerance. They wanted to prevent people like Nikki Cruz saying the first job as soon as we take over with a Christian government is to give the death penalty to all heathens and pagans. That's what they were trying to avoid. And they were trying to avoid more religious wars. Advocates determined to remove politics from contemporary and historical theology. They wanted to disregard Judaic law. The 10 Commandments are Judaic law. And I know a lot of you are all upset about the Noahide laws, but take a look at the 10 Commandments. You're fighting the Noahide laws, but most of you are actually advocating for putting the 10 Commandments in every school and every public building. There's not one record of any pagan or heathen, of any heathen group ever asking for a sacrifice, a human sacrifice. But the God of the Bible demanded a human sacrifice. Is that okay with you? Is that okay with you? But they wanted to disregard Judaic law. And they wanted to give no political weight to any organized religion. And the Christian nationalists and the Christian identityists are saying you have to be a Christian to be in any position of leadership. Just like they were back then, Christians are against enlightenment. They wanted to afford no political weight to any organized religion, but instead recommended this horrible thing. This is what they recommended, that each person should follow the religion that they found most convincing. Why does that terrify Christians? Why are Christians terrified to allow people to follow the religion that they most want to follow based upon their own convictions? Why? Because Christianity doesn't want you to think. They've outlawed you thinking. The Enlighteners believe that a good religion based on instinctive morals and a belief in a creator should have no need to use force to maintain order in its believers. But yet, from day one, the Holy Roman Empire, Charlemagne, the way Christianity is spread is at the point of the sword saying, either you convert or you die. And this is exactly the same thing that the Charlie Kirks and the Nikki Cruzes, and yes, I'll say it, the Tucker Carlsons and the Erica Kirks, the J.D. Vances, and probably even this iteration of Donald Trump, if you don't bow the knee to Jesus, we're going to cut off your head. Well, you better bulk up your biceps and your triceps and your shoulders, because there's going to be a lot of heads to cut off, because just like my ancestors, the Odahartes, the only clan that never gave in, never surrendered, there's a lot of Odahartes today, and the Odaharte spirit is spreading. It's called the last generation of real humans. It's called the divine. It's called the sovereign. It's called the free. There's 50,000 plus that stayed here for 5 years on this one channel. I'll take those 50,000 and we'll beat you, we'll defeat you, because we're better, we're more moral, we're more human, we're more tolerant, and we're on the side of truth and righteousness and justice. And we don't have to tell people convert or die. According to Thomas Paine, deism is the simple belief in a creator with no reference to the Bible or any other miraculous source. Instead, the deist relies on his own personal reason to guide him. Why is that so terrifying to Christians? Why is that so terrifying to Christians? And decent, honorable, prudent persons don't need Christianity to hold concepts of honor and going beyond self-interest to create and interact in society. Christianity is only at most 2,000 years old. We've had 50,000 years of human culture sophisticated enough to support religion. And for 48,000 of those years, we lived in peace. We lived in harmony. We let everybody do what they wanted to do and just worried about our own selves. Now we'd have some wars every now and then. When somebody tried to steal our wives or rape our cattle, we'd have some skirmishes. But they were about real things. It wasn't about my God's better than your God. Who do you want to be? And it was into this philosophical and social order which Johann Adam Weishaupt founded the Illuminati in 1776. Here's where you all get mad at me. I'm asking you, how much thinking are you willing to do? How deep are you willing to go? The word Illuminati comes from the Latin illuminatus, which means enlightened. So this whole idea of thinking for yourself and rejecting religious persecution comes from the Illuminati. It comes from being enlightened. The meaning in cultural context is crystal clear. What did Adam Weishaupt, the founder of the Illuminati, say he founded it for? You've never heard this before, but you're going to hear it today. And if you get mad at me, it's a knee-jerk reaction. It is a evidence of Stockholm syndrome in your thinking. It is an evidence of you rebelling against programming. Because here's what Adam Weishaupt said was the reason why he founded the Illuminati. At a time when there is no end of making and abusing secret societies, I plan to make use of this human foible of wanting to have a secret society. There's something about us. We all want to have a club. We all want the T-shirt. We all want the secret decoder ring. We want to belong to something. There's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong with it is when you get involved with things that stop you from thinking for yourself. But Weishaupt says, hey, look, we all want to have a secret decoder ring. We all want to have a club. We all want to have a T-shirt. So since everybody wants a T-shirt and everybody wants to be part of a club, let's start a club with a real goal. Let's start a club with a worthy goal. Let's start a club for the benefit of people. And let's start a club that can really do what the heads of the church and secular authorities should have done with the purse and the power that they had, when instead they did the opposite. The prevailing opinion of the day when the Illuminati was started was that the Illuminati was seeking to promote the doctrines of equality and freedom throughout society by combating Abrahamic religions to foster rationalism in its place. Oh, now we see why Christians hate the Illuminati. Now we see why everybody knows the Illuminati's bad, because everybody knows that it's bad to promote the doctrines of equality. Because we all know some are more equal than others. The Christians are more equal than everybody else. We all know it's bad to promote freedom throughout society by combating the Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, that say, our God, our way, or you die, and to foster rationalism or thinking in its place. That was the great sin of the Illuminati. The Illuminati was formed with the vision of liberating humans from religious bondage and undermining corrupt governments. Let me say that again. The Illuminati was formed with the vision of liberating humans from religious bondage and undermining corrupt governments, and now you know why Christianity opposes it. And the vast majority of people in the so-called truther movement are Christians, so now you know why the vast majority of people in the truther movement, so-called, hate the Illuminati. I'm thrilled, Karen, that you caught a live show. Are you surprised yet? How deep are you willing to go? Weishaupt was initiated into Freemasonry. He said he went into Freemasonry to get illumination and enlightenment, to understand reason, which would dispel the clouds of superstition and prejudice. Freemasonry, bad thing now, because it's Judeo-Christian controlled. Freemasonry, originally, a thing that wanted to bring illumination and enlightenment and reason and to dispel the clouds of superstition and prejudice. Colleen's hitting it on head. It's inversion. What's good is bad. What's bad is good. And everything bad they do, they project it onto me and you. Freemasonry, he used Freemasonry to recruit his own quasi-Masonic secret order society, which had the goal of assisting the perfection of human nature through education, to establish a communal state with nature, harmony with nature, freed of government, freed of organized religion. That's what pure Masonry was. Who could possibly be against this? Look around. Every single Christian Every single Jew, every single Muslim is against it. Why? Because they're against enlightenment. They're against illumination. They're against freedom for all people. They're against thinking for yourself. And they're against being against the domination of religion. See my program, Cowardice, Presuppositional Epistemology, on this channel. Look it up. What did Thomas Jefferson have to say? Pedro knows what he's talking about. Masons built the monuments in the cathedrals before Masonry was hacked. Jefferson, author of the Declaration of Independence. A guy named Augustin Baruel went after Weishaupt. And Weishaupt came, and Jefferson took up defense of Weishaupt. The author of the Declaration of Independence said, Baruel's own parts of the book are perfectly the ravings of a bedlamite. The first big crazy house was called Bedlam. Jefferson called Weishaupt, Adam Weishaupt, an enthusiastic philanthropist who believed in the indefinite perfectibility of man, that we are divine, that we're sovereign, that we're free. He believed that the intention of the message of the Jesus character was simply to reinstate natural religion by diffusing the light of morality to teach us to govern ourselves. These are the great sins, pardon me, of the Illuminati. Weishaupt claimed lofty motives, including plans to educate Illuminati followers in the highest levels of humanity and morality, basing the teachings on the supremacy of reason, the God of nature, and being allied with the spirit of the golden rule, so-called, of not doing to others what one would not wish done to themselves. Christians, I've heard so many of you say, yes, you deserve to go to hell if you don't believe in Jesus. I'd push you in myself. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Would you like to be pushed into a lake of fire? But you're willing to do it to other people. How golden is your rule? Weishaupt's writings in his own defense seem to indicate that Illuminati alumni that may attain positions of significance and power in the fields of education and politics should do their best to exert a benevolent, a kind, and an uplifting influence upon society at large. His project was utopian and optimistic, but not evil or violent, said Thomas Jefferson. Could it be that one of the deplorable and tragic ironies of history is that a man who tried to inculcate virtue, philanthropy, social justice, and morality has become one of the great hate figures of the 21st century conspiracy thinking? They all hate the Illuminati because the Illuminati says you don't have original sin. You've got the spark of the divine within. You don't have to go on bended knee to somebody else's savior because you're divine, you're sovereign, and you're free. And if you're a person that can only be motivated to be good by the threat of being thrown in hell, you're not a good person. You're just not a good person. So let's get to Burrell and the counter-enlightenment. He was a French journalist and a Jesuit priest. He was known for starting the anti-Illuminati conspiracy theory. Isn't that interesting? The biggest conspiracy theory that there is, the Illuminati, was invented by a Jesuit. Well, maybe it's not the biggest conspiracy theory that ever was. The biggest conspiracy theory is Christian biblical eschatology, end-time events. And every single one of those end-time events, from the tribulation to the rapture, to the third temple, to the second coming, to the mark of the beast, every one of them was invented by a Jesuit as well. And I've proven it. Burrell wrote a book linking the Illuminati with what he called the Jacobins. It was titled The Memoirs Illustrating the History of Jacobinism in 1797. He peddled a conspiracy theory that lumped the Illuminati in with Jews and Freemasons, stating that they all wanted to demolish all monarchies and the Vatican in order to establish a world republic. But he didn't accuse all Freemasons because he himself was one. His conspiracy theory held that the Illuminati was joining Jews and Freemasons in order to destroy Christianity. If that sounds familiar, that's because Charlie Kirk, Erica Kirk, Stu Peters, Ben Shapiro, Christian nationalists, Christian identities, they're still pitching the same garbage to us today. Still today. The Society of the Friends of the Constitution, renamed the Society of the Jacobins, Friends of Freedom and Equality, after 1792, publicly becoming known as the Jacobin Club, or simply the Jacobins, was the most influential militia during the French Revolution of 1789. They were forefront in the Reign of Terror, during which over 10,000 people were put on trial and executed for not believing with the Jacobins. This guy included the Illuminati with this terror group in an attempt to sway public opinion against the Illuminati. The Illuminati really only posed a terror to the church and to the dominant monarchies across Europe. And that's the problem. Hello, Her Majesty. Wow, this is amazing stuff. His original idea was to depict Jewish people as engaged in a global conspiracy, a driving force of real world history. Until then, the general consensus was the Jews were too powerless and too few to do that. But today, well, you know what is believed today. His basic idea, this Jesuit, was that the Illuminati was a conspiracy that aimed to overthrow Christianity, that aimed to overthrow the Roman Catholic Church. And he was right. We do aim to overthrow Christianity. Let me explain. We do aim to overthrow the Roman Catholic Church. And by the way, if you keep pushing for Christianity, sooner or later you will be a Catholic. It's going to be just the Catholics. That's a prophecy. Jeff, you said you're against Christianity. Yes. You say you want to overthrow Christianity. Yes. Let me explain. If after considering all the alternatives you decide you still want to be a Christian, that's fine. You can be a Christian. But the day, the second, the millisecond you decide to start persecuting other people because they don't want to be a Christian, that's when you are going to have to deal with us. If you want to be a Christian, up to you. You want to be Jewish, up to you. You want to be Muslim, up to you. There is, unless everybody has religious freedom, nobody has religious freedom. I don't care who you want to worship or how you want to worship. But the second you start trying to restrict somebody else's freedom because you don't like the way they worship, that's when you'll have trouble with the divine, with the sovereign, with the free. That's when you'll have trouble with the last generation of real humans. And we will deal with you. His conspiracy suggested an association between the occult, the Enlightenment, and the Freemasons. He thereby associated heathens with Enlightenment thought, a trend followed by later reactionaries, only because it was true. We started the Enlightenment, and we're going to finish it. Everybody will be able to be free, and you will not be able to impede anyone's desires in efforts towards freedom, or you will deal with us. It's just that simple. Don't mess with the bull, or you will get the horn. The counter-enlightenment associated pagans with Enlightenment thought, a trend followed by later reactionaries. It inspired this book by John Robinson, not the captain of the Jupiter 2 from Lost in Space, but he printed this book called Proofs of a Conspiracy Against All the Religions and Government of Europe. Beruel and Robinson were friends, and guess what? We are involved in a conspiracy against all the religions and governments of Europe. We're in a conspiracy against Christianity because we're tired of being told if we don't agree with you, we've got to die today and go to hell tomorrow. We're done with that. We are involved in a conspiracy against the establishment governments because we're tired of being ruled by you. We're tired of paying you. We're tired of having to follow your nonsensical laws, and we're tired of you not doing what you're supposed to do. It's just that simple. They accused Freemasonry of being infiltrated by the Illuminati, warning that the light of reason was dark shadows. No, but the light of Illuminati does. I lived in Florida. I grew up in Florida. And it doesn't matter how clean your house is. Sooner or later, you're going to have a Winn-Dixie special. That's what I used to call them. A roach. They sneak in. And when you turn on the light, what happens? The roaches go a-running. That's why Christianity hates the Enlightenment. That's why Christianity hates the Illuminati, because it shines the light on their dark deeds, and they have to run like a La Cucaracha. Hello, LA, go forth. Bam, you're back. They were right. It was a conspiracy, and it is a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy of men and women longing to live divine, sovereign, free, and according to their own convictions. That's a conspiracy, and we're spreading it. So in May 1776, 3 dudes gathered at Weissaup's house. They decided to form a secret order to undermine the social system, which persecuted everybody that wasn't Christian and supported monarchs. It was first called the Order of Perfectibilists. We can perfect ourselves. Among the guests was this guy named Franz. He was educated at a Jesuit seminary, and like Weishaupt, they got sick and tired of the Jesuits. In fact, they got really, really, really ticked off the Jesuits and became militant against the Jesuits because they knew what they were. This guy named Franz, kind of like Hans and Franz, we're here to pump you up. Well, they became attracted to astronomy at 15. He viewed a comet. He saw the 1769 transit of Venus. He taught himself the basics of science. He and his brother moved to the Ukraine to work with this Jesuit who double-crossed him, and he spent the rest of his life working against the Jesuits. And did you notice at the founding of the Illuminati, there wasn't a Rothschild in sight? There wasn't a Rothschild in sight. In 1779, they called it the Illuminati. And their motto was, the Illuminati must control the world. Oh, Jeff, that's bad. Is it? Words mean things. What does that mean? That means, according to the stated goals of the Illuminati, that the enlightened must rule the world. Those that believe in divinity, sovereignty, and freedom for all humans must rule the world. We agree. If you agree, join us. If you disagree, if you feel you've been mistreated, you can jump to our chest and be defeated. This really refocuses what we've been told about the Illuminati. And the goal is Novus Ordo Secularum, the New World Order. Oh, another scary buzzword. Fed to us by the Judeo-Christian fear and guilt, blood magic, mind control matrix and network. Before, Mark. What does it really mean in stated Illuminati terms? What is the New World Order to the Illuminist? What is the New World Order to the Enlightenist? What is the New World Order to the divine, the sovereign, and the free? The New World Order is a world order that's new in the idea that it'll be ruled by sovereign people exercising their own consciousness rather than the old world dominated by church and king. Do we want a new world order? Hell yes, we want a new world order. The United States was founded to found this new world order, that people are free to exercise their own sovereignty and their own conscience and not be dominated by church and king. That's why we started it. That's why it's on the dollar bill. More on that. Is this going to be a two-parter? I don't know, man. There's a lot to left here. There's a lot left here. If Albert Pike started in the 1880s and the Illuminati started in 1776, that means it's before. But in 1492, same year that Columbus sailed the ocean blue, because all the people that rhymes with got thrown out of Portugal and Spain. In 1492, this other movement called the Enlightened was founded by the Spanish Marranos and Conversos, baptized Jews who secretly kept their Talmudic faith, as well as a group in France. I wonder if Pedro knows about these, and I'm sure I'm mispronouncing it. The Gariants, another Converso copycat who would later change their name to the Illuminati. The Alumbrados called themselves the Illuminati. It's predictive kosher disclosure. They were practitioners of a so-called mystical form of Christianity, and proof that they were a counter-enlightenment group became without question when Ignatius Loyola himself was arrested for his activities on the behalf of the Alumbrados. He was an Alumbrado. Loyola, of course, was of Jewish heritage, and he found a little old thing called, hello, Bridget, the Jesuits. Wow. Objective scholarship suggests that Adam Weishaupt, knowing of these previous Illuminati groups, intentionally used the name to emphasize his militant attitude towards these prior Jesuit, Judeo-Christian fear and guilt, blood magic, mind control network groups, and especially his distaste for the Jesuits. Pedro, do you know of the Garians? Garion? I don't know how to say it. What about the lore of the Illuminati? Specific knowledge about the Illuminati is scarce. All we know for sure is that it was founded in 1776 by Adam Weishaupt, who had strongly rejected the Jesuits, and by his selection of the name preferred by Loyola himself, demonstrated a militant attitude towards the Jesuits. And as Pedro says, Loyola was also the founder of the Inquisition. Now, we can't have that, can we? Weishaupt's new order established with some unspecified ties to the Masonic lodges of Germany. It was kind of a secret society within a secret society. He said himself, hey, everybody wants to have a club. Let's make a good club. Hello, Scott. At this point in history, it's highly likely that the German Freemasons were still engaged in the fight for divinity, sovereignty, and freedom against the church and king, and they made for natural partners. Illuminati lore has produced at least as many myths as verifiable facts. With Thomas Paine at the forefront with the writing of Common Sense, it's without question that Illuminati thinking was key in the American Revolution. I'll say it again. Illuminati thinking was key in the American Revolution. This is further evidenced by the fact that the United States, the big government federalists, the MAGA Christian nationalists of their day, encouraged people to believe the counter-enlightenment assertion that Thomas Jefferson and the Democratic Republican Party were controlled by the Illuminati. They, of course, were correct. But what exactly did that mean? The members of the Illuminati were demonstrably known to have favored free thinking, radical politics, a belief in deism, a belief in the optimization of humanity, thus its original name, the Perfectibilists. In fact, the word Illuminati was synonymous and means the exact same thing as enlightenment. Why are you against enlightenment? Why are you against the Illuminati? Only because you've had your mind captured by the Christian collective. The Illuminati, without a doubt, was attempting to overthrow domination by both king, big centralized government with a divine mandate, just like Christian nationalism or Christian identity is pushing, and church. That's the two pillars of the American Federalists. A little context goes a long, long way. Thank you, Eye of Panther, and it is. Are you ready for some more facts that will overcome the fear-mongering, the fear porn that you've been inundated with? The most modern and objective information suggests that Mayer Amschel Rothschild was not involved in the founding of the Illuminati. Colleen says, didn't Jefferson say a little revolution now and then is a good thing? Actually, what he said was, let me give you the full quote. A little revolution now and again is a good thing. For the tree of liberty must needs be watered at times by the blood of both tyrants and patriots. John Nettles, Happy Days. Conspiracy theory suggests that the Rothschilds later became associated with the Illuminati due to their significant influence in politics and thus finance. If a group is making strides to break the financial honeypots of government and church, it's sure to draw attention. The Rothschilds have often been linked to the Illuminati. Their wealth and influence have led to theories suggesting their involvement with the Illuminati, with claims of manipulating economies and governments. This would have to start with the manipulation of the Illuminati itself, and that would have to start with the manipulation of Weishaupt. But there's no objective history, no concrete evidence to substantiate these claims. I have to believe that Weishaupt and his society were targeted by the Rothschilds. In fact, my research has concluded that Rothschild-sponsored manipulation was the thing that forced Weishaupt to flee to America and assume the George Washington identity. This brings us to the turning point of the Illuminati. Weishaupt and his Illuminati had to be stopped. They were making great inroads against king. They were making great inroads against church. Their influence was growing, and it was causing widespread populism, leading to what controllers call anarchy. Anarchy means when the Christians and the big governmentalists don't get their way. That's what they call anarchy. In my analysis, Weishaupt was approached with an offer he could not refuse. And when he did, he was forced to flee Europe to both protect his movement and his own life and limb. Evidence of the sudden shift of Illuminati, evidence of this is seen in the sudden shift of Illuminati headquarters from Weishaupt's home, Bavaria, to Frankfurt, headquarters of the Rothschild dynasty. And it just happens to coincide with the rise of the George Washington character across the pond in the American colonies. I spent 3.5 years of my life in Frankfurt, by the way. From a historical perspective, I assert that this was the time when the Illuminati troublemakers were put in association with the big bad. And this charge stuck and continues to haunt Enlightenment-minded people to this very day. Trust me, I know from personal experience. I might be the most shadow banned guy in the world. Might be. Objective historical researchers outside the Judeo-Christian fear and guilt, blood magic, mind control network, and the modern-day lazy, parroting, probably want a cracker, conspiratorium, assert that as of 1776, the Rothschilds weren't yet in a financial position to be of great support to Weishaupt, even if they wanted to. In 1776, the Rothschilds were not a financial power, but they were large enough to fund localized thugs to make continued life in Europe impossible for Weishaupt and the Illuminists. I might be wrong, but we all know that doesn't happen very often. But I don't see evidence that Rothschild was in a financial position to support Weishaupt. It's far more likely that they pressured him enough that he fled, which led to the headquarters being moved to Frankfurt, and it was then that the Illuminati began to be controlled by the Rothschilds. Saint Germain and the Illuminati. Wow, I don't know if we're going to be able to go through this all today. We must mention the enigmatic figure Saint Germain, with whom I personally have had some dealings. He has contacted me in times past. Believe it or not. Don't really care if you do. The Count of Saint Germain's real name and origins remain unknown. He was a European adventurer who had interests and achievements in science, alchemy, philosophy, and the arts. He rose to prominence in Europe. He had friends including Mozart, who, by the way, joined the Illuminati. He went down to Italy and had dealings with the Medicis. Very interesting. Later on, Saint Germain appeared out of nowhere against the elite. He was so mysterious that Napoleon III had a dossier gathered on him. But the dossier was mysteriously destroyed in a fire. Saint Germain was an alchemist. Blavatsky said he was one of the hidden masters of Tibet who steered the world's destiny. But here's the real interesting thing. He was called the Professor. He was the very epitome of an enlightened illuminist, was Saint Germain. And Saint Germain played a huge role in the American Revolution. Many say without him it never would have happened. Because the signers of the Declaration of Independence were sitting in Independence Hall in Philadelphia contemplating losing their heads or being hanged. Their courage was wavering. The document sat there. Nobody was signing it. And then an extraordinary catalyst was needed to move them to action. And an unknown man rose and gave an electrifying speech, and he disappeared soon after. Let me tell you his speech. They were terrified to sign the Declaration, so he said, "They may stretch our necks on all the gibbets in the land." That's the thing they put your head on to chop it off. "They may stretch our necks on all the gibbets in the land. They may turn every rock into a scaffold, every tree into a gallows, every home into a grave. And yet the words on that parchment can never die. They may pour our blood on 1,000 scaffolds, and yet from every drop that dyes the axe or drips on the sawdust of the block, a new martyr to freedom will spring into birth. The British king may blot out the stars of God from his sky, but he cannot blot out his words written on that parchment there." Speaking of the Declaration, "The works of God may perish, but his word will never perish. These words will go forth to the world when our bones are dust. To the slaves in the mines they'll speak hope. To the mechanic in his workshop, freedom. To the coward kings these words will speak, but not in tones of flattery. No, no. They will speak like the flaming syllables on Belshazzar's wall. Mene, mene, tekel, upharsin. You've been weighed in the balance and found wanting. The days of your pride and glory are numbered. The days in judgment and revolution are near." Yes. That parchment will speak to kings in a language sad and terrible as the trump of an archangel. You have trampled on mankind long enough. At last the voice of human woe has pierced the ears of the gods and called their judgment down. You have watched on to thrones over seas of blood. You have trampled on to power over the necks of millions. You have turned the poor man's sweat and blood into robes for your delicate forms and into crowns for your anointed brows. Now, kings, now you purpled hangmen of the world, for you come the days of axes and gibbets and scaffold. For you comes the wrath of man. For you the lightnings of God. Look! Look how the light of your palaces on fire flashes up into the midnight sky. Now, purple hangmen of the world, turn and beg for mercy. Where will you find it? Not from the gods, for you've blasphemed their natural laws. Not from the people, for you stand baptized in their blood. Here you turn, and lo, a gibbet. There, and a scaffold looks you in the face. Around you death, and nowhere pity. Now, you executioners of the human race, kneel down, yes, kneel down upon the sawdust of the scaffold. Lay your perfumed heads upon that block. Bless the axe as it falls, the axe that you sharpen for the poor man's neck. Such is the message of this declaration to man, to the kings of the world. And shall you falter now? And shall we start back appalled when our feet press the very threshold of freedom? Do I see quailing faces around me? When our wives have been butchered? When the hearthstones of our land are red with the blood of little children? What are these shrinking hearts? What are these faltering voices here? When the very dead of our battlefields arise and call upon us, sign that parchment, or be accused forever. Sign! And if the next moment the gibbet's rope is around your neck, sign. If the next moment this hall rings with the echo of the falling axe, sign. By all your hopes in life or death, as husbands, fathers, as men, sign your names to the parchment or be accursed forever. Sign. And not only for yourselves, but for all ages. For that parchment will be the textbook of freedom. It will be the new Bible of the rights of man forever. Sign. For that declaration will go forth to American hearts forever and speak to those hearts like the voice of the gods. And its work will not be done until throughout this wide continent not a single inch of ground owns the sway of a British king. Nay, do not start and whisper with surprise. It's a truth. Your own hearts witness it. God proclaims it. This continent is the property of a free people, and their property alone. The gods, I say, proclaim it. Look at this strange history of a band of exiles and outcasts, suddenly transformed into a people. Look at this wonderful exodus of the oppressed, of the old world, into the new, where they came, weak in arms but mighty in faith. Nay, look at this history of your Bunker Hill, your Lexington, where plain farmers mocked and trampled down the panoply of British arms. And then tell me, if you can, that God has not given America to the free. It's not given to our poor human intellect to climb the skies, to pierce the counsels of the Almighty. But methinks I stand among the awful clouds which veil the brightness of the divine throne. Methinks I see weeping. The old world is baptized in blood. It's drenched with the blood of millions, butchered in war and persecution and slow and grinding oppression. But evermore, that terrible sight, man trodden down beneath the oppressor's feet, nations lost in blood, murder and superstition walking hand in hand over the graves of their victims, and not a single voice to whisper hope to man. Let there be a new world. Tell my people, the poor trodden down millions, to go out from the old world. Tell them to go out from the wrong, the oppression, the blood. Tell them to go out from this old world and come help us build the new. As the gods live, my friends, I believe this to be their voices. Yes. Were my soul trembling on the wing for eternity, were this hand freezing in death, were this voice choking with the last struggle, I would still, with the last impulse of that soul, with the last wave of that hand, with the last gasp of that voice, implore you to remember this truth. God has given America to the free. Yes. As I sank down into the gloomy shadows of the grave with my last gasp, I would beg you, sign that parchment in the name of the gods, in the name of the millions whose very breath is now hushed in intense expectation. They look to you for the awful words. You are free. Oh, many years have gone since that hour. The speaker, his brethren, all have crumbled into dust. But it would require an angel's pen to picture the magic of the speaker's look, the deep, terrible emphasis of his voice, the prophet-like beckoning of his hand, the magnetic flame went shooting from his eyes, soon fired every heart throughout the hall, and the work was done. A wild murmur thrills through the hall. Signed? Ha! There's no doubt now. Look how they rush forward. Stout-hearted John Hancock has scarcely time to sign his bold name before the pen is grasped by another, and another. Look how the names blaze on the parchment. Adams, Lee, Jefferson, Carroll, and now Roger Sherman, the shoemaker. Here comes old Stephen Hopkins, yes, trembling with palsy. He totters forward, quivering from head to foot. His shaking hand sees the pen. He scratches his patriot name. Then comes Benjamin Franklin, the printer. And now, the parchment is signed. And now, let word go forth to the people in the streets, to the homes of America, yea, to the camp of Mr. Washington, and the palaces of the idiot King George. Let word go unto all the earth. My friends, this is the true legacy of the Enlightenment. This is the true legacy of the Illuminati. How deep are you willing to go? What kind of a person are you? Will you sign that document? That document that says, I am one of the last generation of real humans. I am divine, sovereign, and free. I am going to stand, and I will not kneel. How deep are you willing to go? How tall are you ready to stand? I salute you for being here seeking after truth. And I implore you today, in your heart, in your mind, for your own divinity, for your own sovereignty, for your own freedom, sign that parchment.
Retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution.